In Yu-Gi-Oh Duel Links, duels are different. Life points start at 4,000, initial hand size is 4, and special abilities called skills make Ogdoadics good. But those aren't all the changes. In addition to some other stuff in this video we're going to be getting into, individual cards have changed to better adapt to the Duel Links format, and here's 10 of them. And at number 10, we have the continuous spell card, Dark Contract with Yamimakai. First released into the TCG as part of the 2017 Structure Deck Pendulum Domination, Dark Contract with Yamimakai has seen the same number of reprints as it's seen competitive placements. 0. While this is a little embarrassing for a card that's part of an archetype with a storied competitive history and notoriously complex combo lines, the different dimension demons, or DDDs, are worth discussing here for the strange way their cards straddled the Duel Links burn damage adjustment. The DD and DDD cards were first added to Duel Links in April 2020 as part of the main box Truth Universe. This included important monsters like DDD Flame King Genghis and support like Dark Contract with the Gate and Dark Contract with the Swamp King. A year and some change later, more DDD support came with the event, the Power Beyond Dimensions Declan Akaba, which first ran from October 21st to 29th, 2021. This coincided with the idea of the Armageddon minibox, which brought DDD Doom King Armageddon, DD Orthros, DD Savant Kelper, and more. But before April 2020 and October 2021, a big change came to Duel Links. All burn damage was halved. This change would apply to any card released after September 29th, 2020, while older cards were left as they were, with one major exception we'll get into later in this list. The Dark Contract DDD continuous support cards all came with maintenance and life point cost during the standby phase. But critically, these life points weren't paid as costs and were instead taken as damage. This meant that the DDD cards that released after the initial Truth Universe set had their penalties halved. In order to keep your Dark Contract with the Yamimakai active, you only had to suffer 500 damage rather than Swamp King's 1000. But this boon wasn't actually a super big deal. Unlike Dark Contract with the Gate, which could search, or Dark Contract with the Swamp King, which could fuse, Dark Contract with the Yamimakai's effect wasn't the strongest. Once per turn, you can activate one of two effects. The first option was to scale a DD Pendulum monster from your graveyard. The second was to scale a face-up DD Pendulum monster from your extra deck. While this effect isn't bad by any means, it also was never vital to the deck in a manner similar to Mirror Gate or Swamp King. Actually, it was even less necessary in Duel Links because of the Command of the Doom King skill, which would let you scale DD Pendulum monsters from field and deck while sending a copy of DDD Doom King Armageddon face up to your extra deck. Still, Dark Contract with Yamimakai did manage to see one recorded King of Game placements at Duel Links amid the archetypes many. Featured in the artwork of Dark Contract with Yamimakai are several monsters from classic Yu-Gi-Oh! Dark Blade, Pitch Dark Dragon, and King of Yamimakai. This is probably because both King of Yamimakai and Dark Blade have Yamimakai, literally translated Dark Evil World in their names, since Dark Blade goes by Yamimakai no Senshi Daku Sodo in the OCG. While there's no Yamimakai in Pitch Dark Dragon's OCG name, it's established that this creature rolls with Dark Blade regularly, so there's no surprise seeing the dragon accompany it. But while it's interesting that Dark Contract with Yamimakai features some monsters no one has thought about in years, and straddles Duel Links' burn damage adjustment, there are some interesting cards that Duel Links has changed in more interesting ways. So at number 10 this card stays. And at number 9 we have the normal trap card Counterforce. Not to be confused with the 5D's anime exclusive trap Counterforce, this lists Counterforce released into the TCG as part of the 2012 set Order of Chaos. It's a pretty simple card. When attacks between two attack position monsters is negated, Counterforce inflicts damage to your opponent equal to the difference between their attack stats. While the activation conditions here are a little strict, there are quite a few ways to negate an attack, including predictably negate attack and number 39 Utopia. And even though that's still kind of convoluted, it's a nice touch that for Counterforce's purposes, it doesn't matter which monster has more attack. If your opponent controls an Ultimate Crystal Rainbow Dragon Overdrive with 11,000 attack points, you can attack with a Utopia and negate your own attack to activate Counterforce for lethal damage. But what's the deal with this difficult to use trap in Duel Links? Well, Counterforce entered Duel Links in August of 2021 minibox Arts of Atlantis, placing squarely after the app-wide adjustment to burn damage. Counterforce is a card that already makes you do math. And in Duel Links, there's the added step of having the burn damage the TCG version of Counterforce would have inflicted. And while Duel Links is of course a sim that calculates values automatically, you'd still want to know how much damage will result before activating to play optimally. Counterforce is a convoluted card made even more absurd by its Duel Links adaptation. Interesting enough to mention, but not place any higher on this list. Let's slow down for number 8 and check with Crystal Beast Emerald Tortoise. A level 3 water aqua monster with 600 attack and 2000 defense, Emerald Tortoise first released into the TCG in the 2007 set Force of the Breaker. Like the rest of the Crystal Beasts, Emerald Tortoise can set itself to back row as an effectless continuous spell instead of going to the graveyard on destruction. But while it's on the field as a monster, you can activate its effect to change a monster you control that already attacked this turn to defense position. Emerald Tortoise can target itself, which is nice in that after using it to poke for 600 damage, you can shift it sideways to hide behind its 2000 defense points. Unfortunately, if you're playing Duel Links, this is not an option. In Duel Links, there is no main phase 2. You have to set your back row and build a board you don't mind passing on before you're declaring battle. Because without a main phase 2, you won't get another chance to do either. You also won't get another chance to activate Crystal Beast Emerald Tortoise's effect. Added way back in March of 2018 during the first iteration of the Awakening Crystal Dragon Jesse Anderson Unlock event, Crystal Beast Emerald Tortoise was one of the first cards released into Duel Links that couldn't work as intended in the streamlined format. Rather than find a solution, Konami decided to kick the ball down the road a few years and just erase Crystal Beast Emerald Tortoise's first effect. While the loss of Emerald Tortoise's ability to help one of your monsters turtle up after the battle phase probably didn't greatly impact the card's competitive usage, it's interesting that the Duel Links version of Crystal Beast Emerald Tortoise is just blanketly worse than its TCG counterpart. Luckily, it is a Crystal Beast, which means it still saw some play as one of the unique names required to summon Rainbow Dragon. Also, its 2000 defense stat makes it situationally more useful than the other Crystal Beasts, which tend to favor attacking over defending. And flying into the number 7 are a pair of birds, Raidraptors Tribute and Sharp Lanius. They're both level 4 dark wing beasts with decent stats. Tribute Lanius with 1800 attack and 400 defense, and Sharp Lanius with 1700 attack and 1000 defense. Raidraptor Sharp Lanius released in May of 2015's Cross Soul set, a little under a year before Tribute Lanius swooped into the TCG in February 2016's Winged Raiders. Like Crystal Beast Emerald Tortoise, Sharp and Tribute Lanius have ignition effects you typically activate during your main phase 2. Of course, there being no main phase 2 in Duel Links meant that Tribute and Sharp couldn't translate perfectly into the format. Luckily, they didn't get the Emerald Tortoise treatment. These revolutionary birds got to keep their effects, but not unchanged. Instead of triggering at will during your main phase 2, the Duel Links Raidraptors activate at the end of the battle phase, which is worse for a number of reasons. Let's take a look at Tribute Lanius. If it destroyed a monster by battle, it can search a rank up magic spell at the cost of locking to only summoning Raidraptors for the rest of the turn. Before Duel Links and TCG competitive deck listings, there are a lot of options you might grab, including rank up Magic Force, rank up Magic Soul Shape Force, rank up Magic Rapid Force, rank up Magic Revolution Force, and Phantom Knight's rank up Magic Force. These spells all take an Xyz monster you control and let you summon a higher rank Xyz monster on top of it, which is great for Raidraptors, since they have a lot of super powerful high-rank bosses, like Raidraptor Ultimate Falcon and Raidraptor Satellite Cannon Falcon to complement low-rank combo pieces like Raidraptor Forstrix. Unfortunately, searching a rank-up magic during your main phase 2 in the TCG is way better than the end of the battle phase in Duel Links. In the main phase 2, you can activate that rank-up magic spell to keep building your board before passing, but in Duel Links you won't get to use that card until your next turn, since the end phase comes immediately after the end of battle. Raidraptor Sharp Lanius' effect suffers similarly, but ultimately adapts better to Duel Links than Tributes. If Sharp Lanius attacked during the turn, it can revive a Raidraptor from your grave. While activating this effect in the main phase 2 does give you the option to keep extending, triggering at the end of the battle phase in Duel Links isn't so bad, because a body is a body, and at least Sharp Lanius puts another one on board. But on top of their late activating effects, both Tribute and Sharp Lanius have additional ignition ones that can trigger during the main phase 1 on the turn that they were summoned, and they're both pretty good. Tribute Lanius is a foolish burial for Raidraptors, and Sharp Lanius can switch an opponent's attack mode monster to face up defense position. Even with its second effect made worse in Duel Links, Raidraptor Tribute Lanius is a common 3-of for its foolish effect, and is costly to obtain as a UR in the February 2023 main box Raiders Requiem. Raidraptor Sharp Lanius, on the other hand, remains mostly ignored, but it's an in rarity, and is at least easier to pull from the same box. And breaking containment at number 6 is the Earth attribute Machine Link 2 Qliphort Genius from the 2018 Extreme 4 set. With 1800 attack and 2 diagonal downward angles, Qliphort Genius isn't a bad candidate for your extra deck zone. And it's got pretty fantastic innate protection. Unaffected by spells, traps, and the effects of other Link monsters, Qliphort Genius has some nice immunities. And it has a good ignition effect to boot. Once per turn, you can target one face-up card on each player's fields and negate the effects of both, although Qliphort Genius is incapable of selecting itself as a target. But even if you could, doing so might not be in your best interest, especially if you're playing pendulums. When 2 monsters are special summoned at the same time to Qliphort Genius's arrow-linked zones, you can search a level 5 or higher machine monster from your deck. And since Qliphort Genius requires 2 machines as materials, you'll probably have a few targets to grab. The pendulum synergy is pretty clear here, since performing a pendulum summon is an easy way to fulfill Qliphort Genius's search condition, and there are quite a few decks that can do so. Obviously, there are Qli decks, but also Despots and Dynamis, although Qliphort Genius has seen the most competitive play in super heavy Samurai decks. But pendulum summoning isn't the only way to trigger the Qliphort Genius search. Cards like Infernal Reckless Summon and Machine Duplication can get the same result, leading Cyber Dragon decks to find consistent competitive advantage with this card. In Duel Links, Qliphort Genius has seen play in a wide range of decks, including Earth Machines, Sky Strikers, and even Mech Lords, which were surprisingly good in the format. But wait, since Duel Links only has 3 main monster zones, how does the Qliphort Genius double summon search work? Because one of its arrows will always point off the field. Well, Duel Links handle this by just removing the extra constraint. If you control Qliphort Genius in the extra monster zone while you perform a simultaneous summon, you get the search. While the benefit of not having to adhere to its link arrows is balanced by the smaller overall board, it's interesting to note that in this instance, adapting to Duel Links made the Qliphort Genius's effect a little bit better. Usually, that's not the case, and cards tend to lose something, like the opportunity to use Raidraptor tribute Lanius' rank up magic spell during the main phase 2, or using Crystal Beast Emerald Tortoise's effect at all. Like Dark Contract with Yamimakai, Qliphort Genius received a slight buff during its import into Duel Links. Unlike Dark Contract with Yamimakai, people actually use Qliphort Genius, so that's why it takes a higher spot on this list. And at number 5, we'll be excavating a series of ancient treasures: Crystal Skull, Ashoka Pillar, Krabera Stone, and their companion spell Triangle O. A level 1 water rock with no stats from 2022's Battle of Legend Crystal Revenge, Crystal Skull released into the TCG a little before the rest of the cards, with Krabera Stone, a level 1 earth rock with no stats, and Ashoka Pillar, a level 3 earth rock with no attack but 2200 defense, coming out alongside Triangle O in the 2024 set Maze of Millennia. These ancient treasure cards work together to create a bizarre burn strategy. On summon, Crystal Skull inflicts 1000 points as self-burn and then shifts to defense position. During the end phase of the turn, when you don't take effect damage, it can also search a rock with 0 attack from the deck, and either add it to your hand or special summon it. While this is a little finicky, since it'll be hard to activate the effect on the same turn you summon Crystal Skull, both Ashoka Pillar and Krabera Stone meet these target conditions. Ashoka Pillar searches an equip spell on summon and then shifts itself to defense position. While it doesn't inflict self-burn right away like Crystal Skull, on destruction it will hit you for 2000. A potential target for Ashoka Pillar could be Stonehenge, an equip spell that released alongside Crystal Skull in Battles of Legend Crystal Revenge. On activation, Stonehenge targets and revives a monster with no attack in your graveyard. Krabera Stone searches Triangle O on summon before changing itself to defense position. Like Ashoka Pillar, it deals self-damage on destruction, but only 1000 points. Triangle O can only be activated while you control Crystal Skull, Ashoka Pillar, and Krabera Stone, and it destroys all cards on the field. Mathematicians among us will note that destroying both Ashoka Pillar and Krabera Stone results in 3000 points of self-burn. But Triangle O's lingering effect causes your opponent to take all the effect damage that you would have taken instead for the rest of the turn, making these activations desirable. Finally, you can banish Triangle O to shuffle the 3 ancient treasures back from the grave to draw 3 cards, hopefully providing the necessary cards to finish off your opponent. The Maze of Millennia Continuous Trap Totem Pole can double the effect damage your opponent takes, turning ancient treasures into an extremely weird OTK, but also has conditions that are hard to meet, and isn't part of Duel Links. This is all very funky and cool, and Ashoka Pillar has seen experimentation in Mikanko strategies for its equip search. But as fun as that is, That is not the reason we're exhuming these ancient treasures. Interestingly, these cards debuted in Duel Links a few years before making their way to the TCG, where their effects were a little different. In Duel Links, Crystal Skull had no rock search and only inflicted 500 self-damage on summon. Ashoka Pillar didn't have its equip search and inflicted 1000 self-damage on summon. Cabrera Stone couldn't search Triangle O, but did automatically self-destruct in defense position to inflict 500 points of self-damage. Triangle O kept its activation requirement, board wipe, and lingering effect damage transfer, but didn't recycle cards or provide extra draws. In Duel Links, the ancient treasures are about as bad gets, and they even have different artwork from their TCG versions. The Duel Links ancient treasures are dull and literally lackluster compared to their better TCG counterparts. They're just worse, and luckily, when they were ported, it got a little better. And at number 4, we have Antidote Nurse. This is a rank 3 light Xyz machine with 1800 attack that requires 2 or more level 3 monsters as materials, and has the quick effect to detach 1 to target a monster on the field, and revert its attack and defense back to its original values. You can target monsters on either side of the field, and if you revert the stats of one of your own, it becomes immune to destruction by battle or card effects for the rest of the turn. Critically, this is not once per turn. If you do manage to field your Antidote Nurse next to a Gaia the Magical Knight of Dragons, things get a little spicy. Antidote Nurse's other TCG effect is that while there are 3 more materials, monsters on your side of the field gain 900 attack permanently on special summon. It's an interesting card with some synergy between its ability to buff attack stats and then trade the buff out for protection, and only requiring 2 generic level 3 materials makes it pretty adaptable. Unfortunately, that part isn't from Duel Links, where Antidote Nurse made its first debut in October of 2020, 4 years before its OCG printing. The Duel Links Nurse requires an overlay of exactly 3 level 3 monsters. It has the same stats and type and attribute, but instead of targeting cards to revert their stats, automatically reverts any monster that it battles. At the same time, Duel Links' Antidote Nurse can detach 1 during a damage step where your monster battles to have that monster gain 1000 attack. Ultimately, it's not the worst card. There are some situations where it could be useful, but the triple overlay is a severe knock on Antidote Nurse's usability, and the OCG version is way more flexible and easier to field. Like other cards to receive entirely different effects from their Duel Links counterparts, the OCG artwork of Antidote Nurse is far shinier than the less sparkly Duel Links version. For number 3, we're stepping back to January of 2015. It's a new year, and it brings with it the new Yu-Gi-Oh Tag Force game, Yu-Gi-Oh Arc 5 Tag Force Special, which was the 7th installment in the Tag Force series and released for the PlayStation Portable in Japan on January 22nd, never to release internationally. The game included a few cards from the Yu-Gi-Oh 5D's anime that hadn't yet gotten around to printing in either the OCG or TCG, including 1 monster used by Luna, an armored white bear, and a whole bunch of cards belonging to Sherry LeBlanc, including Horse of the Floral Knights, Noble Knight Spearholder, Noble Knight's Shieldbearer, and Centaur Mina. These cards were imported into Duel Links during fall of 2019 with their Tag Force effects preserved, whereas they would see artwork and effect updates when they released into the OCG and TCG a little down the road. The TCG version of Armored White Bear released in the 2020 set Battles of Legend Armageddon, and the updated Sherry LeBlanc cards entered circulation as part of the tail end of 2021 set Brothers of Legend. We'll run through the effects of both versions and try to keep it quick, because there's a lot of them. Armored White Bear TCG does more than its Links counterpart. If summoned while you control a synchro monster, White Bear recovers a field spell from a grave. Then, after getting destroyed by battle or your opponent's card effect, it floats into a level 4 or lower beast with a different name from your deck. The Duel Links version only has the destruction on special summon and can only target a level 4 or lower light beast. Both Armored White Bears have the same 4 levels, water attribute, 1800 attack, and 1400 defense. Likewise, both iterations of Noble Knight Spearholder are level 2 light warriors with 800 attack and 400 defense. While the Duel Links Spearholder contributes itself to search and equip spell, the TCG version gets an additional effect. On summon, TCG Spearholder can target a level 8 or lower synchro monster you control, make it into a tuner, and change its name to Fleur Synchron until the end phase. Noble Knight Shieldbearer is a level 4 light warrior with 800 attack and 1300 defense in both TCG and Duel Links. But, like the other Tag Force cards, got a buff going into the TCG. Duel Links' Shieldbearer can banish a light warrior from grave on normal summon to draw a card. TCG Shieldbearer can do the same thing, but it can be any light monster, and the effect can now be activated on special summon too. Additionally, TCG Shieldbearer can banish itself from hand or field to add a level 6 or lower wind beast. While TCG Spearholder can activate both effects during the same turn, Shieldbearer makes you choose one. Horse of the Floral Knights is a level 3 wind beast with 800 attack and 400 defense, and the Duel Links version can add a Noble Knight Spearholder or Polymerization from deck to hand on normal summon. TCG Floral Horse trades this effect out for searching a light Noble Knight on normal or special summon, and can also activate once per turn to conduct a fusion summon using itself and another monster from hand or field as materials. This brings us to the level 6 Light Beast Warrior Fusion Centaur Mina. This monster has 2200 attack and 1600 defense, and some changes to talk about. TCG and Duel Links Mina have different effects and different materials too. While Duel Links Mina requires Noble Knight Spearholder and Horse of the Floral Knights, the TCG Mina can settle for a Light Warrior and any beast as a fusion material. Duel Links Mina can negate the activation of and reset an opponent's trap as a quick effect, which is fine, I guess. TCG Mina can do the exact same thing and more. During the main phase, TCG Mina can summon a level 2 or lower monster from your hand or grave. Finally, if sent to the graveyard as a material for a win synchro monster, TCG Mina can pop a card on field. Where things get really funky is that both versions of each card are part of Yu-Gi-Oh Duel Links. With the Duelist Road, Hope for the Future Sherry LeBlanc Unlock event, and March 2023 Main Box Striker expansion, you can play both versions of these cards in a single deck if you're feeling extra silly. Thankfully, like Antidote Nurse and the Ancient Treasures, the new Sherry cards received brighter, more gilded artwork to help players differentiate between the two. Armored White Bear got new artwork too, but the TCG version of that card hasn't yet made it to Duel Links. And we've got a hot pick for number 2. Lava Golem is one of Yu-Gi-Oh's most played cards, and has been competitively on fire for literal decades. First released into the TCG with the 2003 set Pharaonic Guardian, this level 8 Fire Fiend with 3000 attack and 2500 defense didn't start seeing significant competitive experimentation until late 2005. But despite an admittedly cool start, usage of this magma monster would snowball in the coming years as it became a staple going second counter card. Instead of summoning Lava Golem to your field, you tribute 2 of your opponent's monsters as cost to special summon Lava Golem to their field. This actually makes Lava Golem something of a trendsetter, with future Golem cards like Grinder Golem, Dummy Golem, and number 30 Acid Golem of Destruction frequently following its flaming footsteps to stand on your opponent's board. Like Lava Golem, Grinder Golem can do this inherently on summon, and Dummy Golem initiates a control switch on flip. But foisting Acid Golem and its special summon lock on your opponent takes an extra card like Xyz's Reversal or Creature Swap. This ripple effect on card design is likely a result of Lava Golem's competitive and anime presence, which were both significant. Tributing as cost is one of the safest and most effective methods of clearing an enemy's monsters, and can even out-trouble some bosses with Omni-Negates and ridiculous staying power. Because Lava Golem is an inherent summon, it can't be stopped by a monster negate like some other tribute board clearers, and even a Solemn Judgment can't protect Lava Golem's tributes, even if it still technically negates Golem's summon. This is the main reason that Lava Golem has seen and will continue to see competitive play. But it has other effects too. During their standby phase, Lava Golem burns its controller for 1000 damage. While TCG Yu-Gi-Oh games are often too short to see Lava Golem burn, win, and grind off, 1000 points is not an insignificant quantity of damage, and it absolutely can be the difference between a win and a loss, especially in the closing seconds of Game 3. But still, Duel Links was where duelists felt the full heat of Lava Golem's burn. First entering the game during one of Duel Links' more exclusive events, Attack of the Rare Hunters Yamimakai returns, players got a free copy of Lava Golem with the unlock of Yamimakai as a playable character. While most Duel Links character unlock events run at least 2 times, Attack of the Rare Hunters only occurred once from July 26th of 2017 to August 3rd, while Yamimakai not making his way into the legendary Duelist Gate until August 15th of 2018. Missing this week-long event meant you had to wait a whole year to start collecting Lava Golems. On the bright side, after Yamimakai was made easier to obtain, everyone could get 3 copies of Lava Golem as a legendary duelist drop, and then things got spicy. At start, Lava Golem was faithful to its TCG effect, burning its owner for 1000 during the standby phase. In Duel Links, this was a much bigger deal. With 4000 starting life points and 3 monster zones, one Lava Golem cleared 1/4 of life and 2/3 of a board. Sure, summoning Lava Golem meant giving up that turn's normal summon, but a wealth of stall cards like Curse of Anubis, Windstorm of Ed Aqua, Rainbow Life, Sphere Karibo, and Kiteroid made it unlikely that your opponent could use the Golem you gave them to finish you off. And on top of that, burn decks are historically extra strong in Duel Links. Tea Burn was an FTK strategy that used cards like Restructured Revolution, Cup of Ace, and even Hinotama to blaze through your opponent's life points before they got a chance to declare a battle phase. This strategy was so good that Restructured Revolution, a card that people outside of Duel Links have probably never heard of, is still grouped with some of the format's most powerful cards like Treacherous Trap Hole, Cyber Dragon Infinity, and Monster Reborn at Limit 1. Lava Golem only exacerbated this problem, coupling with Yamimakai's Shadow Game skill to create a lethal burn/stall deck. And that wasn't the only way Lava Golem broke Duel Links. Using Amazona's Swordswoman's effect to cause your opponent to take battle damage plus Lava Golem and the Trap Massive Morph equaled a massive problem. Able to double the attack of an opponent's monster in return for making it incapable of attacking directly, Massive Morph could both neuter your gifted Lava Golem and weaponize its new 6000 attack by crashing Amazona's Swordswoman into it for game. While this strategy was mostly resolved by limiting Massive Morph to 1 and Amazona's Swordswoman to 2 for many years, Lava Golem's burn was still igniting the latter. This culminated in the Great Duel Links burn damage reduction, where all cards added to the game after September 29, 2020 had their instances of effect damage halved. Although Lava Golem had long been part of the game by then, it too received an errata, adjusting its burn down to 500 because it was just too powerful as printed. Lava Golem is good pretty much everywhere, but is Duel Links' special menace, and deserves recognition for how intensely it scorched the meta, changing the game forever. And wow, after Lava Golem, it kind of feels like this list should be over, but it's not. The forces of light and darkness intertwine, and the gates of chaos open to reveal this list's #1 pick, Blackluster Soldier, but probably not the one that first comes to mind. Blackluster Soldier, the level 8 Earth Ritual Warrior with 3000 attack and 2500 defense, has long been one of Yu-Gi-Oh's more iconic cards. An ace monster of original anime protagonist Yugi, Blackluster Soldier has been retrained what feels like a million times. We've got Blackluster Soldier Super Soldier and Blackluster Soldier Legendary Swordsman. We've also got some cute little guy versions and a Link, and a bunch of other BLS iterations. But only one other Blackluster Soldier has the exact same name as Blackluster Soldier, and it's Blackluster Soldier. This one is the exact same as the original Blackluster Soldier, but is a normal monster instead, and it was distributed to all Duel Links players as a special gift on January 28th of 2024. The flavor text of the Neo Vanilla Blackluster Soldier reads, "The mightiest warrior whose abilities equal the Blue Eyes White Dragon." This is fitting since BLS and Blue Eyes have the same stat line, and they're even used in the same deck. Blackluster Soldier Legendary Swordsman already paired nicely with the Blue Eyes deck in Duel Links, and the Blackluster White Dragon marriage would continue with the advent of the Battle Chronicle skill. Designed to support Blue Eyes and Dark Magician strategies, Battle Chronicle enabled the normal summon of normal monsters with 2500 attack or defense, a category that includes both anime aces, and also Blackluster Soldier. But Battle Chronicle also restricts your effect monster special summons, locking into light and dark spellcasters and light dragons. While this limit doesn't apply to monsters without levels like Xyz and Lynx, it also doesn't stop you from summoning the normal Blackluster Soldier. And there's still more to Battle Chronicle. On a turn when you normal or fusion summon a level 7 or higher monster, you can add to your hand from deck a copy of Successor Soul or a quick play spell that mentions Dark Magician or Blue Eyes White Dragon. Commonly, the other quick play spell is either Secrets of Dark Magic or Ultimate Fusion. Finally, after the search, Battle Chronicle lets you dump to grave a non-effect monster from your deck or extra deck with a name unique from those already on the field and in your graveyard. That's a lot of stipulations, but it's actually pretty simple. Blue Eyes strategies tend to dump Blackluster Soldier or Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon. If the duel lasts long enough for you to activate Battle Chronicle's search twice, you get a free Dragon Master Knight. It isn't a bad touch that you also get to special summon the normal Blackluster Soldier from deck with Successor Soul in a pinch, although this isn't the deck's typical play. Also worth noting real quick, Battle Chronicle also works with Chronicle Magician and Chronicle Sorceress, but they're usually totally ignored for Blue Eyes White Dragon or Dark Magician. Back to black. Although Blackluster Soldier, normal soldier, isn't a playable part of the TCG, it did have a few special promotional printings. From December 15th, 2023 to January 9th of 2024, duelists could enter a sweepstakes to win print copies of this card by purchasing the stainless steel Egyptian god product. 3,000 copies of the normal Blackluster Soldier were printed, 2,000 for North America and 1,000 for Europe. These copies had Japanese text except for the copyright notice and were the TCG's first time dabbling in promotional normal Blackluster Soldier waters. The OCG, on the other hand, had printed normal Blackluster Soldiers on 2 previous occasions. Once in September 2023 as a prize card for a scratch-off game entered by spending 3,000 yen, roughly $20, on Yu-Gi-Oh products in one purchase. 1,000 of these prizes were given away, and the first time since 1992 when normal Blackluster Soldiers were distributed as Yu-Gi-Oh! National Tournament prize cards before the TCG even existed. Over a quarter century later, Blackluster Soldier, Envoy of the Normal, takes number 1 spot on this list of cards that are different between Duel Links and the TCG for being both fascinating from a perspective of studying the card's game's history and for just being good, or meshable with Blue Eyes because in Duel Links that's more important than being good anyway.